Hi guys, it's Arlene from A Crafty Latina bringing you another Cricut tutorial. So today I wanted to show you how you can use your Cricut for writing anything, cards, envelopes, your seating escort cards for weddings or special events. And I know some of you may think that this takes longer than printing or making a label. However, not everyone may have access to a printer. And some people don't mind how long it takes. You know, it's something that they feel like I did this personally and it gives it that special touch. So this is an option. And, you know, it's life and we love choices. And this is just another choice. So first, what I like to do is write the address that I'm going to be using on my envelope. So I'm going to do an envelope and I'm also going to use one of those name cards, seating cards to do the demos today. So let's hit the text box on the left toolbar and I'll just use my name. And I'll just use 123 Main Street, Disney World, Florida. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let's just move that up a little bit. So now what I want to do is, it's a little large for now. I want to find a writing font that's going to look good. And if you haven't seen my blog on writing with the Cricut, I'll put a link at the bottom because I'm going to be working with the fonts that I demonstrate or show in that blog as well. So let's go to the top first to select our font. So right here under font, right now it's under the Cricut Sans and it's regular style and it's set for cutting. So what you want to do is click on the toolbar for fonts, and then all the way to the right over here you'll see the word filter. You click on that and you want a writing font. So when you filter writing font, it's only going to show you fonts that have writing. So you'll see there's always a description on the bottom. It'll have the font name and then it's a description right under. This is a multi-layer cutting, but it's also a writing font. So anything that's a writing font, and if you scroll, you will see there are a lot of choices. All the ones with the little A's are with Cricut Access that come with your machine, or if you're an Access member, these are included. Some that I don't currently have access to or have not purchased will have a price next to them, and some are already installed like through your Word program, like the regular like Arial and Times Roman, and those that already come in are fonts that are available to you. So these are all of the choices, and again I'm just going to use ones that I demonstrated, that I talked about on my blog. So for my envelopes, I like the font that's called Storyteller. And I like it for a couple of reasons. One, I think it has like a little flair, and I like that it has like some interest into the letters. It's not just regular. But the other thing that I like about this font, it's one of those fonts that when you type, it lines up perfectly. Sometimes, you know, when you have these fonts and you love the font and you love the way the letter looks, but then you have to mess with the letter spacing and bring them closer and figure all this out. I don't like to mess around with that too much. Sometimes I do if I want something a little fancier, but I love this. And I think this is clear enough, because the goal when you do an envelope is you want to make sure that your mail carrier can read the address, the post office can read the address, and that it's clear, and you want your invitations or your card or your letter, whatever it is you're mailing, to get to its destination as quickly as possible. So keeping it simple, streamlined, and clear is the goal for when it comes to envelopes. So now I have my information, and this is the address that I'll be using. So now the next thing that I have to do is sort of like make a template, mimic what an envelope would look like so that I know what placement is going to be. So let me just move, and bear with me guys. 3 weeks later, I'm still dealing with a broken arm. So I'm working a little slower than usual. One hand and a couple of fingers. So let's see, I want to do a shape, make a shape of what an envelope is. And regular, usual wedding invitation mailing envelopes are, the width is 7.25 and then the height is 5.25. And if you're not sure, just measure your envelope and use that as a guide. I'm going to change this to gray because I'm going to be using a gray envelope. And I'm just going to move it at 0, 0, just so that I know it's in the top right corner. So later on, it helps me when I place my mat. And if you're not sure if you're at 0, 0, always go to here all the way to the right on your toolbar in the position. Right now the X is 0, but the Y I'm at 14. Just change it to 0, and now you know you are at the uppermost corner of your design space mat. So the next thing I want to do is I want to bring my address over. It went underneath, and if that ever happens, you go up to the top where it says arrange, you click on arrange, and you just say send it to the front, and there it is. So I like, let me make this a little smaller so we see the full. No. I like my addresses to be around, I don't like middle. I sort of like it more to the edge, like a little off-centered. But I think at 2 right here, I think it's perfect. So again, if you're not sure if you're at 2, go to your position and just pick 2, and it should be, and it'll align it exactly. And this is going to be crucial later when you send it to the mat on what your position is for your writing. So I want to at 2 on the offset side. Actually, let me see. 2, 2.5. See what 2.5 looks like. And you're going to have to play with this. No, I think I like 2. And you have to play with this because some of your addresses are going to be longer. So some you're going to be able to put at 2. Some you're going to have to move over a little bit. It all depends how long your address is. If you have a Mr. and Mrs. so-and-so and so, you may have to move it a little over. If somebody, you know, has a longer name or address, and if there's like an apartment or a suite or something attached to, you know, an extra line, you may have to move this up a little bit. But I like to keep it at, I'm going to keep it at 2, 2. And that's that. So it goes 2 inches in and it'll come 2 inches down. So that still gives me enough space. If I want to do a return address, I can do that up here. So now we have our writing. It says it's writing. It says it turns it line type. It turns it into draw up here because it's going to actually, it figures like it's going to draw the lines. And I'm going to select the pen that I'm going to be using. So I'm actually going to be using for this one a gel. Let me make sure what it is. It is a gel, but it's this one, 0.8, and it's like a purplish. I'm going to put violet because it's like a purple, but I love it because it's a glitter and it's going to look so great on a gray envelope with the purple and the glitter. So that's the first one. I'm going to do 2. I'm going to do this one has an address, and I'm going to do one that has an address but also a return address so that you see spacing. So let's just duplicate this. And by duplicate, all you have to do is highlight the address, hold your shift key down, highlight the envelope, click on the envelope, and then just go to the top right and hit duplicate. And that will bring you the exact same copy of what you just did. Move it down, and for right now I'm going to put it here. So I'm going to go back to my position here, and this should be at 0, so I know it's at the edge. And this one I want to put it at 5, 5. Again, you'll see the importance of that when you send it to start writing. So we have our address here. I'm going to duplicate the address because I'm just going to duplicate it and make it as if it was my return address as well. Make it much smaller. And no, I did not mean to move you. I'll fix that in a minute. Let me just move this up to the top like a return address. And this I normally eyeball. I mean, you just want a little space on the edge of your envelope. Move it a little over. I don't want it too close to the edge. Yeah, that's good. And you want it up there. All right, so this one. Okay, so that's good. This one, put it at 8. Yep, perfect. It landed right at 8. And again, 8, and then I want it at 2. So it means it's going to go over to the right 2 inches, so it's going to line up to the one on top. So it's going to be at the 2-inch margin right here. They're both going to start at the 2 inches. And this one, so every time you place an envelope, you sort of eyeball, depending, like this address could have been a much longer address. So then you sort of figure out where you want that placement. So everything is right now set to draw. And I'm going to use a different pen for this so that you see different options. So for this one, I'm going to use a fine tip. So I'll do this one in a fine tip, and I'll do it in black. And I'll change this as well. So then you get the idea of what it looks like with different pens. So the top one will be in the glitter gel purple, and this one will be with the fine point pen. Let me make sure this is at, yeah, see, this is, my envelope itself was not set at the right setting. Always double check that it's at 0, and my Y, I want it to be at 5.5. I like to use, set numbers. I don't like the in-betweens because I don't know when I take it to my mat, I don't know how to find those numbers. So I need it to be, either exactly on, one specific inch or half an inch. So here we got the first one. It's at 0, 0 because that's at the top corner. And the address itself is in by 2 inches and down by 2 inches. The second one, we have it at X is at 0, which means it's all the way to the left corner. And the envelope starts at 5.5 inches down. And then the address should be at 8. Yep. And it moves over by 2 inches. I know it sounds crazy, but if you look at your ruler, you'll know your Y will always be, wait, hold on. Let's do this one because it's different. So your Y will always be where it's coming down. So think of Y as vertical, and then your X will always be horizontal. So that is moving in 2 inches. To make this, I don't need the gray cards behind it because I'm going to have an envelope on my mat, an actual envelope. I don't need these cards. This is just to help us sort of set it up on the image here. And if you keep this and go to your mat, it's going to think that you're cutting something out and it may ruin your envelope. So you have to make sure you hide this. But before we do that, let me do the name card so we can send everything to print at the same time. And then there's one other step that we do. So these are, I'm just going to use these two Flourish name cards that I created. I created these SVGs on Cricut Design Space because I wanted something fancy for an event that I was doing. So I created these, and if you want these, I actually have a resource library on my blog as well that you can get access to. You have all the information there. So let's write a name and a table number. So I'm going to use a different font so that you can see another writing style, a font. For this one, I think I'm actually going to use something different. I'm going to use Arioso, and see what, it didn't come up. You know why? Because Arioso is not a writing font. So I go to the right and clear my filter. It's only giving me writing fonts, and Arioso is not a writing font. So I clear that filter. And here's Arioso. Arioso is a single layer cutting font. And when you put it to draw, let me just type my text so you see what it looks like. Let me just make it smaller so it can fit. No, don't ignore the jumble. It's going to fix itself. It's just thinking. It's just thinking what it's going to do. Doesn't normally take that long, but oh, there it is. I keep screwing this envelope. Let me just fix that. All right, so here's my Arioso. I'm going to move it up here where I want it on my name card. And right now it's still set for cut. It will never give you an option for writing because this is not a writing file, a writing font. But what I do is, instead of cut, I set it to draw. And then it will write it for you. However, if you look at it closely, let me make it a little larger. If you look at it closely, it's one of those fonts, since it's not a writing, it has like that open space in the middle. So sometimes it'll look like a bubble letter, and that may not be the look that you're going for. But how I've gotten around this is I actually, let me see what color. I'm going to use, what I use is a marker, like a 1mm marker in blue. It's not going to be metallic, but it's fine. It's not washable. That's fine. We'll just pick blue. I'm going to use a 1mm. So I'm going to use one of the markers that's a little thicker. So when it actually writes, it looks like it's filling these little gaps in, because they're small gaps. It's not like a big gap. So it gives me, an option of using a single layer font as a writing tool. Because if it's like just like one of these single layers that's not as wide as others, using a thicker pen will fill that stuff in, and we'll see what that looks like. And then let's do the table, and I'll use a different font. I'll use a regular writing font for the table one, and I like Market Street Boardwalk. So I'm going to select this one, and this one is a writing. It's a single layer cutting, but it's also a writing font. So I will use that, and I will just do table number 14. Okay. We'll move this over. Make this smaller again. Move this over here. And let's make that to like 37 so it can fit. And let's move that to the same. I'm going to switch this again. I'm going to make this draw because it's not going to cut. And I'm going to change it to the same blue that I did the other one. So it's 1mm marker, and I'm just going to put the blue metallic so that this writing can match. So that's that. So this is going to write, and we will see what that looks like when it writes with a thicker marker. Now the second one that I'm going to do, let me just, it's easier if I just copy these names, duplicate, and move it down. Too far. Okay, I'll center it in a minute. So this one I'm going to use a different font as well, just so that you can see all the different fonts. The other font it's a writing font that I really like, and it's called Sweet Dreams. And there it is. So you'll see it's a single layer cutting, but it's also a writing font. Now we can go a little bigger. Each font has its own style, so the size that works for one may not work for another. Like this one's, we're going to go with 22 on this one, and up here this font is 20. If I would put 22, it would be too long for this card. So you just have to play around and see which font is better for what you're doing. And then I'll just actually I'm going to just keep this one at Market Street. That's fine. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different fonts, 4 different writing styles that we're going to look at. 3 of which, so this one's Sweet Dreams, and this one is Storyteller. These 2 are writing fonts. And then this one here is Market Street. That's also a writing font. Yeah, so one mistake I made. I did not go in. You have to remember to go in, even though it's a writing font that you selected, you have to go back into style and change it to become a writing font. So that, I was wondering why it looks so bubbly. That's a writing font. You could always tell the difference. Always go back. And I'm so glad I caught it before we went to print, because that's a pain, because then you would have like ruined an envelope or ruined something. Always write the steps that you need to do so that you have them in front of you. So everything right now should be set as drawing. Let's go back and do, as writing. Or let's go back and do all of that to make sure. Yeah, this one, so this one's a single layer file. This never gives you an option of writing. It's always going to be draw. And this one's on the writing, and these two should be writing. That's writing, and that's writing. Okay, so now we're good. So now what I want to do is make sure this is all centered. And this, I want to pick the same color. So let's do that. This is going to be the marker, the 1mm marker. And I'm doing blue. And then this one's going to be black. This one's going to be fine. And it's going to be black. And it really doesn't matter that you change the colors on here, because it's only going to write whatever color pen you actually put in your Cricut. So you don't have to change the color here, but it's nice to sort of see what it'll look like. It gives you an idea of what that's going to be. So now I just want to highlight everything that's on this card and just align it centered. And then just hit, actually, you know what? I think I want to bring it just the name and the table. Bring these down like one notch. Yeah, that's good. So highlight all of it and hit attach. The importance of attaching. If you do not attach, so let's do one attached and one not attached so that you see the difference. This one, I can actually make it a little bigger because we have room. Let me just center it quickly and then I'll show you the difference. This one's, we're gonna have to, yeah, just because it's centering it, including the flourish. So you just want to just manually mess with that one and center that one yourself. Okay, so I'm going to show you these cards, one attached and one not attached. But before I do that, I want to attach the addresses so that when they go onto the mat, they're going to print exactly, they're going to write exactly where they're located right now. All right, so if you did not attach your name or table number to your card, the machine would not know that it has to write on top of this card and then cut this out. There's no way of you to not give it that instruction. So what you're going to get when you go to your mat is this. And for some reason, my machine's taking a little longer than usual. So this is what you would have. You would have one that's completely organized. Here's your card and here's the name on it, and the other one that's blank and the address is somewhere on another mat because we never gave it the instruction that this is connected to the second card. So you'd hit cancel. And it's an easy fix if you have not gone to print yet. So that's why it's really important to always look at your mats before you hit that button. And all you have to do is, again, highlight all of the cards. So you highlight the card, highlight the name, highlight the table number, and you hit attach. And now you've told it, I need you to stay together. I need you to write on this, and then I need you to cut this image out. And how you know that that's going to happen is it has a draw option and it has a cut option. So I know it has to draw on the card first, and then it's going to cut it. So as I mentioned before, when it comes to the envelopes, these gray boxes are really just for us on the canvas to help us lay out where the address is going to be. These should not be visible when you're going to go hit your make it button and send it to write, because you're going to use an actual envelope. So what we want to make sure is that once you have the addresses exactly where you want them, you attach them, what we just did. And by attaching them, I mean you click on each address that you have, and you can only do 2 at a time. If you have a 12 by 12 mat, you're only going to do, if you're doing one of those 5 by 25, 725 envelopes, you're only going to be able to fit 2 envelopes on your left-hand side. You won't be able to fit them side by side. The envelopes are too big. You'll do one top of the other. So once you attach these 3 addresses together, so it knows you're going to be writing 2 envelopes side by side. I just want to make sure that these are in the right place. These should be 0, 0, and this one should be 0, 5.5, 5.5. Perfect. And then this one is attached. That's perfect. So let's hide the envelopes so that that does not go to our mat. And what I mean hide is you go to your, on the right side, there's your layers panel, and you'll find the 2 squares that we did to mimic our envelopes. And you just, that little eye that's there, you just click on it, and a little line goes across it, which means that is now hidden from view, and you will not see that when you hit make it. So once you have everything where you want it, don't forget the critical numbers that you have, and if you have to write them down, you do that. Critical number is 2 and that's it. Once you set this to 2 and 2, because you have these attached together. Critical numbers to remember is the first one. 2 inches in, 2 inches down. And when you go hit make it, it's going to bring your images here, which is great because now it's already at 2, but you need to make sure to remember that you want it to start at 2. And that's all you need. All you need is to remember where your numbers are, where this first image needs to be. And if you've attached all the, the 2 addresses together, the other ones will just fall in place. So I don't have to worry about these if you attach. If you align this first one correctly, which is at 2 and 2, everything else will fall at 6, and this one will be right at 8, just like we did it. The one other thing you have to remember is the placement of your second envelope. So the first one we know it's at 2 and 2, so this is fine, and everything else will fall in line. But when you go to your mat to actually put your envelopes, you want to make sure that you place your second envelope a little bit like at 5.5, which is what we had on our canvas. So you would place it at 5.5, so then that the address will start writing at 6. It gives a little space. You can put it a little lower if you want, and that's fine. But just make sure that you give enough, just like, a little 1/4 of an inch at least right before your second name. So always look on your mat how you're going to place it. And now the name tags, there they are. And they'll just cut, they'll write and then they'll cut. And that's it. So I'm going to go send this to write and to draw, and then we will see the finished products. I will talk to you soon. See you in a little while. So one thing before I send it to print, I wanted to show you what it looks like when you hit continue, and it's going to go to your printer, to your Cricut machine. And for the intricate, I pick cardstock for intricate cuts because the 2 little name cards have those flourishes on it, so that helps it when it goes to cut that out. And then it automatically will tell you load violet pen, which is the first thing that it's going to write, is my first envelope that we set for loading the violet pen. Okay, so we will be back shortly after it all writes out. So hi guys, I just wanted to come back really quickly and show you what it looks like. So everything is printed and everything is cut. So let me show you. This is the one that we did with the return address, and that was the fine point pen. So that was this one. It was the Cricut 0.4 black pen. This was the first one we did, and this is the storyteller font, the writing font, and this was, I don't know if you can see, it's a purple, like a violet shimmer, and I know the envelope is shimmer itself, but maybe if I get close, if you can see that glitter on this pen. I love this so much, and on gray it stands out so nice. And this is the one, sorry, my one hand, this is what it looks like. It's the Cricut, and it's the purple, and it's the gel 0.8 glitter violet. So, and it looks so nice when you do that. And then the name cards, I used 2 different fonts on here as well. And this one I used the medium point pen. So this is the one that I was telling you. The name of this font is Arioso, the top, the name. And remember I told you it was normally it's a single layered font. It's not a writing font. So it normally has like that gap in between. But if you use a thicker pen, it closes in. It writes a little thicker, so it automatically sort of seals that gap. And then the bottom one is the Market Street. I love that font. That's nice and clear. So that's one. And the second one I did was this one. And this second font, hold on one second. This is the Sweet Dreams. The name is in Sweet Dreams font. That is a writing font. And then the bottom I left it, I think I left it at Market Street. Yeah, but this, what I use for this pencil, sorry, for this blue one that we just did, this is the 1.0. I used the Blueberry. It's a Cricut pen, 1.0 for that one. And then for the Market, for this one, for Sweet Dreams, and this is the same bottom font as this one. It looks a little thinner, and this one looks a little thicker because for this one I used the calligraphy pen, sorry, 2.0 calligraphy black. So that one's even thicker, and it sort of draws at an angle, writes at an angle, so it gives it a different look. So there's so many options when it comes to fonts. Just want to come here and give you that quick tutorial. Hopefully something resonated with you, hopefully you learned something new. And as always, feel free to comment or, ask any questions or anything else you'd like me to do a tutorial on. So happy to do that for you. And again, I'll link my blog, and these little note cards I created. If you want them on my blog, there's a resource library, and you can request a password for that. So thank you so much. It's Arlene from A Crafty Latina, and I will see you soon.